there is. We are live. Give everybody a minute to pop on. So, as we've talked about in here, this color changing is new to Tunisian. So I'm trying to work as fast as I can. And there are some changes that needed to be made to update the patterns. So the updates are the contrasting colors. So we will be starting here shortly with the colors. So for the first rows, we talked about, hey Lisa, for the first rows, we talked about how we're going to be adding colors. In the pattern, anything that says like brown, red, black, that is the color that you're going to be working with. That's pretty much going to be a TSS. Anything that has the extended front post Tunisian simple stitch abbreviation is what you'd be working down into the other color. Like I said, I know that since I did my live and I announced that I was going to be doing color changes with Mosaic and Tunisian crochet, 3 or 4 designers now are rushing and trying to get theirs on YouTube. And I teach in here because I want you guys to be able to follow along with what we're doing and to be able to ask questions. I know that there's another designer that's teaching the honeycomb color changes and calling it single crochet, and I know people have messaged me about it, and you know, different designers do things different, and that's their way of doing things, and that's, you know, that's their group and they're in charge of that, and I'm in charge of this, so I have no control over that. So inside the lips, we're going to talk about, like I said, color changing with Mosaic is in Tunisian is different than regular crochet. In regular crochet, since you're working a forward pass and then turning your work, you can pick up bobbins at different intervals and work different colors differently. And you can keep light and dark colors different places because there is a front and a back and you're turning. With Tunisian, since you're working a forward pass and a return pass, you're always ending up on the same side. So those bobbins are going to be a little bit different. The way that you can work colors is going to be a little bit different than what you would typically work in Mosaic. So what we're going to do is once we get those initial colors done, I will be catching up with crocheting tomorrow. We had some things going on today, and tomorrow's my anniversary, so in the morning I probably will get a little bit of crocheting done. But we will be starting those colors as I showed in the previous project. And hey Deborah, there you are. So we're going to have those the bottom of the lip color. Okay, we're going to talk about bobbins and colors for right now. Anything that dips into another color has to have the background as a contrasting color. So if you print off your pattern and you look at it, we have the lips, and then there's the black that goes inside the lips and the black on the background. That is going to be our main contrasting color. So in order to be able to keep those colors, that black for your contrast, that is going to go anywhere on the outsides. Okay. Now, for designing purposes, since I know that we're going to have a few people that are going to try to design their own after this, we have the lips. Okay, so we have we'll talk about the top lip first, even though we're working from the bottom up. In the top lip, we have whatever color this is, then you have this color, and then you have that color. Now, you can do those as your light color because there's nothing else in there. So you have the black rose going across, and we have no design in those. So for instance, if I wanted to take this side of the lip and I wanted to put another heart in there, that heart would be inside of, we're going to call this red for the sake of this. So inside this red, if I wanted to do a circle or I wanted to do a heart, if I wanted it black, then I could still use that contrasting color and I could use that as my design. But say I wanted this circle or heart to be one of the other contrasting colors, like white or maybe blue. We'll say we're using blue. Say I wanted this to be a blue heart. In order for that to happen, that blue would need to be our contrasting color, our dark contrasting color in here. So now I could carry the black across to here, and then the red would be our light contrasting color. But in order to get this to come up, you can't work two light contrasting colors together. So now this blue heart would need to be the dark contrasting color. So now I would do black across, I would work my red, and then this, where this black, the black rose would be, this would be turning into our blue to give us the blue heart, because you need that contrast. And you have a light contrast and a dark contrast. And just because I'm using light and dark contrast doesn't mean that you can't reverse these. But we're going with light because red is bright and black is dark for the example here. So does everybody understand that? And the same is going to apply for the lip down below. We're going to have the heart. And where we have our heart, now you guys can decide where you want your contrast color to start. You can actually work the black up until that color change for the heart, where you have the 3 at the bottom. Or you could work it square. It's going to be personal preference, because when you cast off, and here's the thing that I want to mention too, and this is going to play into your color changes. When you're working the red for the bottom of the lip, you can work those 3 in the red and then continue your black across. So now you have your black, you have the red, and then you have your black for that bobbin, because we're going to have the contrast, which is white. So the red is going to be our dark contrast and the black. When you cast off, you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. Now, one of the things that I talked about is when you do your color changes, since we're working 2 rows above for our contrast, our dark contrast color again, that red will be pulled over, but it's not going to be pulled over as much as you might want for the lip. So the first row, you're going to have the 3 TSS in red, then you're going to do black, and then you're going to do the red above those, and those are going to be straight up and down. So that area is going to work. When you yarn over and you cast off, now when you work your black and then you work your light colored row for the white to cover up the sides, when you work that black row again, what's going to happen is that's going to need to move over 2 more stitches for the red. So when you pull that up from the row below, it's going to need to go diagonal. So there's 2 ways that you can do this. When you have that row that you're going to have the cast off of the light color, you can work over and under that tail to move it over when you do the forward pass. You can work that strand so that it's hidden in the back. You can float it up the back. It's going to be personal preference on how you want to move your bobbin to the right if you're right-handed, and how you're going to move it to the left if you're left-handed. And this is going to be an opportunity that you guys can play around with how you want to do your color changes. I would like, depending on how advanced you are, I will be moving my bobbin over when I do the next row. So I will be working over and under that bobbin, because remember how we talked about how to move that bobbin to the right? That's how I will be doing mine. So when I do the white row and I get across for the TSSs and I will be putting that tail behind and catching that at that second row. And yes, you're still going to have that strand, but with that strand in the back, like I said, this is going to be a cushion. I would rather have that strand because I picked it up on the forward, the forward and return pass with the white, than I would to just pull that up all the way at a 45 diagonal and move it over 2 stitches. It's going to be up to your level of comfortableness with the stitches that we're doing. I do not want the beginners to panic and think, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Because like I said, this is going to be a bigger cushion cover that's going to be, this is going to be like a cushion that you can sit on cover size, because I didn't want to go too small, but I didn't want to go too large. And I needed a back cushion for my seat. So that's what I will be using this for. And I wanted to be able to incorporate the colors with a few with big sections, because when you get into small sections where you're constantly floating on the back, I found that the polls that I did, many people got really frustrated that, we're color changing every other color, and I'm carrying and I'm floating and I've got all this stuff to do. So I wanted this to be beginner friendly. So does that make sense to everybody what I'm talking about? So your contrasting color in between the lips for the white will be your red. So you will switch from black to red for this area here. And then when you get done with your heart and you have your heart pretty much done, you'll change back to the black. Now, with that being said, depending on the amount of colors that you're using too. If you're using color changing yarn or whatnot, you want to make sure that you're picking out 2 colors too that are very contrasting. You don't want your colors very close, because then the definition for the lips and the heart and stuff are not going to show up as much. So definitely make sure that you're picking out colors that, if you squint your eyes, you definitely can see that they're completely different hues. You don't want to squint your eyes and notice that they're really close in color, because it's going to mute the pattern and what you can see, because there's a few visual elements going on. So you really want that contrast to happen. And like I said, I had to update the pattern because this is new. There's, Tunisian mosaic. Yeah, there's probably going to be a few videos here on YouTube in the next couple weeks, but nobody's really done the color changing mosaic. So I wanted to hop on that, and I did need to update the pattern to include the right-handed and left-handed graph and to move that heart. So for everybody that's downloaded the pattern, make sure that you go in and you download the new ones that are updated into their here, that says that they include the right-handed, left-handed graphs and written. And like I said, tomorrow morning I'm going to film the extended front post Tunisian simple stitch. And I'm going to see about if I can get to a color change one. Is there anything else that you guys want to see that I have not touched base on yet? Does everybody have their yarn? Have you started the border yet? How's that going? And I know how Facebook likes to lag a little bit. So nobody has any questions. There's nothing anybody wants to see. Does everybody understand about the contrast color in the center? Nobody has anything? Let's see. I see the option to write a comment, but I don't see any comments. I hope that Facebook didn't do something crazy and then I'm not missing what you guys are putting in. Like I said, if there's anybody that has any questions, feel free to PM me about the pattern. This probably will be, unless there's a mistake that we find along the way as we're working, this is probably going to be the last update that there's going to be. Like I said, the contrasting color will start in your black row, because the white is going to be our light contrasting color, and the black is our dark. So we needed the black to be inside the lips, because we absolutely have no black stitches inside until we get to the top. So that's why we need to change that out. So in this, you will have a few bobbins going, but it's not going to be terribly bobbin heavy. I wanted everything sort of open and wide so that we had a few stitches of each color, and that we didn't have a lot of cuts and ties and different bobbins on the back. So hopefully everybody understands that, and everybody has everything that they need to start this. The extended front post Tunisian simple stitch video should be up tomorrow. I'm going to film that in the morning. It shouldn't take very long. And that's going to show you how to do the front post stitch in the row below, the 2 rows below. And I'm not exactly sure if I should call it modified, since it's actually a front post stitch that we're doing 2 rows below and it's dropping down, or if I should refer to it as a drop down extended front post Tunisian simple stitch. I don't really think there's a standard on this, as I have looked over all of my books and everything else, so there's really not an exact standard for this stitch. And in regular mosaic, they aren't really calling it a mosaic or a drop down stitch either. So I'm kind of on the fence about what I want to refer to it as. But as far as it's going to be in this pattern for right now, until I can get some feedback from you guys, I think we're just going to stick with the extended front post Tunisian simple stitch, because with it saying it's extended, you obviously understand that it's, you know, it's going to be a taller stitch. So in my eyes, it's fine, but it's going to be up to what you guys think, and what route you guys want to take with it. Um, so do we have any questions? Anything? I don't see. There we go. I don't see any comments. So are we good? I hope so. I think everybody pretty much that requested a different color got their different color that they wanted. We have the red, white, and blue. We have the Guinness. We have the purple. And we have the St. Patrick Day one. So, does everybody have their colors picked out so far? In the written too. I don't know why I don't see the comments. That's crazy. But there we go. Karen says she's just waiting for the extended front post Tunisian simple stitch video. That video should be up tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow is my anniversary, but I'm going to film that first thing in the morning. I will get that up. Does everybody understand the contrasting color that I spoke about? Live isn't working on my laptop, but working fine on my phone. Gotta love Facebook. So like I said, decline that real quick. Yeah, so yes, but it intimidates me a lot. That's why I'm here, Lisa. I wanted to go slow. I want everybody to do I wanted to do nice and slow. I wanted everybody to be able to do to work along, and if anybody had any questions, that way they could directly get in with me. So I cry every time Facebook updates. Yes, I do too lately. It's been quite interesting. Gotta love Facebook and messaging. All right, so I see I have a few things going on that I need to address on my phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log off. The video for the extended front post Tunisian simple stitch will be up tomorrow. So if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to message me directly if there's something you guys want to see because you've watched this video and the comments aren't coming up or whatever's going on. So just let me know. And I will address that. And deal with that. Like I said, the videos are going to come in, but I wanted you guys to understand when you printed out your graph what the contrast colors were going to be. There's light contrast colors and dark contrast colors, and in the center when we get to the heart, that is going to be a dark contrast color that needs to be done on the black rose to add your red. So for those of you that didn't catch what I said earlier, just go back and rewatch this. I wanted it to be a real short live. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to message, because I can do another live. It's not really going to matter. And then I can answer all your questions. So I might pop on and do a live tomorrow morning. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to message me, and I'm going to wrap this up because I have people calling me right now because there's something going on. All right, guys, you have a fantastic evening, and if you need anything, message me. Bye, guys.